Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with Nick Baker about leveling up leadership through financial strategy. I want to dig a little bit deeper and get to some of the bigger questions that could make a difference for some of our listeners. And I would like to start with what role does financial literacy play in becoming a better leader in personal life and business life?
A huge role. I think, like I said before, money impacts all of us. I always jokingly tell people, even if you're a multi-hundred millionaire, billionaire, even they have a budget, right? There's no such thing as unlimited resources. And so we all are budgeting or planning or trying to manage our resources on some level, right? And so I think the biggest thing is really making sure that you have a basic understanding. The biggest hurdle to that is they don't teach us this stuff in school. There's no formal education process in the United States for personal finance, and that's really it's a problem. We're really at a loss. And so, if somebody didn't teach you growing up, you either have to self teach, or you hire somebody like us. The trick, though, and kind of the catch that happens is sometimes people hire us and they still don't understand really what's going on. So I always tell people, anything, if you're getting a surgery, if you're getting a new investment, you're getting a new house, you need to make the professional that you're working with explain it to you in a way that is acceptable for you. You don't have to become an expert in the stock market or a real estate expert or, a surgeon overnight, but I want you to explain it to me like I'm in seventh grade or whatever, 10th grade, right? So that I can understand it. Because here's the real important thing, especially when it comes to financial planning, but other long-term decisions like that. There will come a time when things don't go according to plan, right? The stock market has, and the economy has recessions, it has corrections, it goes down. Oftentimes, as much as it goes up, there are painful periods. And so when you get into a period that maybe isn't as planned or is more painful, if you don't really understand what you're doing, psychologically, it's so much easier to abandon the plan, right? So I always tell people, don't just tell us, yeah, it makes sense. You sound smart. You're wearing a suit, so you must know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, I really want you to understand the basics of really what we're trying to achieve here. That way, you're just as committed to the plan as I am, right? So that would be kind of the major pitfall. The second one is just natural human behavior. I always tell people you don't have to score an A+ on financial planning, investing. If you can get a B-, B+, just a B average, you're going to hit overwhelmingly most of your goals. But that just comes through consistency, right? If you want to talk about a test, right? How do you score well on a test? Is you just study, right? And study consistently and really do your best. But if you can be consistent over time when it comes to money, you can make other little minor, I call them micro mistakes, or maybe things that aren't efficient. Like maybe you do go buy the wakeboarding boat, right? But if you're continually saving, continually investing, really making compound growth towards your goal, I'll use the workout analogy. It's the exact same thing, right? The first time you go to the gym, you don't really see any results, right? But you go for a year, you're like, oh man, I kind of see how this works. I'm obviously benefiting. You go for 5 or 10 years, right? We all see these people with like really nice, physiques, or they got big muscles, and you ask them, well, how did you do it? It's like, well, I just worked out for the last decade or 5 years or whatever it is, and I ate right. It's the same thing with financial planning, right? If you can just be consistent and save money and commit to your plan and really stick to your plan, that consistency almost outweighs everything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There was some also gems there as well. And if I were to kind of summarize that into some of the major points that I picked up, was the literacy applies more than just understanding everything, right? You said you could get a B and still hit almost all of your goals financially, right? I like that idea because it's not about being perfect at it. It's not about knowing everything. It's not about understanding to the fullest. It's about just learning it, understanding enough to be able to make those smart financial moves, to stay on top of it, to have that discipline and ability to move forward consistently with your plans and goals because of your financial literacy. I find that really, really important, and it's overlooked a lot in business. Through my experience dealing with different clients, I see an inconsistency in the understanding of financial management and planning. I see a lot of consistency in understanding how the operation works, how the product is built, how the service is done, but not so much how to manage the financial aspect of the business. And that carries over. If you don't understand how to handle your personal finances, you can't understand your business finances. But I also like how you brought up working with someone like yourself or other financial advisors or coaches in general. It's not about understanding all of it in the most complex ways possible. It's about simplifying it, making it easy to understand and to remember and then apply. I operate off of a philosophy. Knowledge is not power. Contrary to a lot of belief, applied knowledge is power. And I feel like that really does make a difference with financial literacy. So, how can leaders instill financial discipline and responsibility within others, right? Whether it be in the home life, in your kids, in your spouse, or in a business with employees, managers, and other people you put in charge of financial discipline?
Yeah, I think the best one, it's a great question. I think the best one is to really lead by example, right? Others can tell um, what's going on, and generally people have a sense for how you're living. And so living by example is a big thing. But I think if you're the person that's the business owner or the leader, the manager that's in charge, I think, using your network and the network of the organization to bring in outside advisors, help really making people available to your people for financial literacy, having resources available for them, the benefits that your company has, whether that be a 401k, access to a 401k plan, advisor, financial planner. A lot of our business owners will make us available to their employees, right? They say, hey, I use this advisor personally. They also maybe manage the company's benefits, but if you ever have a question or you need something or want to understand something, you should reach out. So making those people available, and then also I would just add, maybe bring them in every once in a while, a couple times a year, to explain basic concepts. Because I think if most people knew, hey, if I saved 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a year, maybe I don't make a ton of money, maybe I do, but if I can just save, 4 grand a year or 10 grand a year or 15 grand, and I can do that for 20 years, well, gosh darn, I'll have $1 million saved by the time I'm retired. I just think most people they haven't been given access to that information. And so the more opportunity you can give people to access the information, the more options they have, the more ability that they have to execute. Because you're right, just knowing, we all have Google, right? We can Google almost any fact that we want in 0.1 seconds, but it's what you do with the fact, right? Again, the workout analogy, we can create a perfect workout plan. It's got the squats, the deadlifts, the bench press, but it's really in the execution of doing it, right? So just having the resources available, like, well, what is the best investment? I don't know. What are your goals? What's your objective? What's your risk tolerance? So being able to learn and then have the ability to apply that, I think when you can make that more available to more people, you're going to have a better outcome. And just the studies all show this: the more financially secure that your employees are, the more access they have to information, the better they're going to perform, the less anxiety they have, and just on a human level, the more grateful they're going to be to you as somebody that has an influential role in their life.
That's so clear in so many ways, and I think you simplified it right there at the beginning in a short, sweet little package: leading by example. And then you supported that with something I also believe in, and that is pulling in the people around you so they can learn it, understand it, and also soak in that knowledge and information that may be beneficial to you and help you, right? It's just sharing that beneficial factor, that importance of something. And I also believe in the same sense, when you're sharing that valuable insight, that valuable information, and you're bringing them into the mix, and you're leading by example, and you're motivating, inspiring, you're educating, it's going to have a massive ripple effect. And not only that, that goes a long way with your employees, with your spouse, with your kids, to where now they want to listen more. They want to follow more. They want to invest more into you or what it is you're doing because they feel that investment coming right back to them. I find that really, really powerful. And real brief, could you share just a quick example of a leader who's transformed their life because of their financial discipline?
Yeah, I can think of numerous people, right? But I think when it comes to financial success, I think you said it earlier, right? It's just being willing to sacrifice and really work towards what you want. I think the best example I have in terms of financial success, sharing with other people, empowering other people, really the CEO, president, owner of IMG, the firm that I'm at, a guy by the name of Jeff Applebaum, just an incredibly consistent supporter of the people that work at this firm. There's a couple of really, really great stories, and obviously they're true stories. He's helped people out through cancer payments, maybe things they couldn't afford. These are people that work at the firm. Just caring for your people like that, if and when you have the means to, but on a less drastic level, right? Just being there for your people. I can think just personally on a few occasions, I've gone to him with some frustrations, personally, mentally, financially, and having that open door policy where he can make it a safe place to work, where he knows that he can help and I can rely on him to help. That's really how you empower your people and become a really successful leader, in my opinion.
I think that's fantastic insight, Nick. I absolutely love having you here. Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, if you just want to Google me, that's probably the easiest. But Google Nick Baker, IMG Financial Group. It's in Houston, Texas. Certainly, anybody's welcome to give me a phone call. My number is 832-369-9419. But yeah, if you look me up on Google or LinkedIn, pretty easy to contact. Be happy to visit, have a conversation with anybody that wants to talk. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. We'll return shortly and we'll be joined by our next guest to explore even more powerful leadership strategies.